Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. Broaden the scope of exposure for your business by going beyond the interview. Learn more at www.jmmbmediallc.com or email us at jmmbradio@gmail.com. A speaker should approach his preparation not by what he wants to say, but by what he wants to learn. Todd Stoker. Bill Nikolouzakis is the managing director at Levels Growth Consultants and is a co-founder of the digital law firm Bond. He is recognized as a thought leader in the speaking industry and has worked with organizations of all sizes and industries, from startups to Fortune 500 companies. His expertise lies in leadership, sales, and personal development. Bill's keynote topic on turning clients into raving fans and promoters guides audiences through the lessons he has learned building go-to-market strategies for high-growth businesses to attract customers and turn them into promoters. He is here to share practical tips on how to understand your customers' buying journey and pain points, bringing them joy and turning them into raving fans. Bill, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for sharing your expertise with our audience. Wow. Sales is always a awesome topic to talk about because so many businesses are struggling with getting sales. Where's the place to start when you're trying to really build a sales funnel?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. Sales is the lifeblood of any business. You know, I say if you're in business, you're in sales. The only way you make money is to sell something, a product or a service. So even if you're a technologist or you're a lawyer or you're anything, you have to know a little bit about sales. And my specialty is in small to medium-sized businesses. And when I think about small to medium-sized businesses, you haven't got the massive marketing budgets to come up against the big corporates, the Fortune 500s and the like. So for me, when I see small businesses succeed, and the most successful small businesses are the ones that have the best client experience. So, building a sales funnel, building your go-to-market strategies, all really important, and every business should go through that process. But I think the starting point for any small business that wants to succeed in sales is to just build the absolute best experience for your customers possible, and to really understand not only what experience your customers want, but who your customers are. What kind of industry you're in, where are those customers, where are you getting those customers from? Are they from other partnerships, or are you getting introduced from other businesses, and because they're your clients as well. So building a process not only for the consumer, but also for all the different people in that value chain.
So we're all consumers, so we know how we want to be treated when we're dealing with, and we know who we like working with. So how do you guide people into creating a good client experience?
First of all, you need to understand who your customers are and what your product or service is. So, if you haven't done it already, whether you've been in business for 10, 20 years or just starting out, I recommend talking to, if you've been around for a while, talk to your customers. If you haven't, then find people that are buying your product or service and find out what they want. And I'll give it to you. The best way to explain it is I'll give you an example. About 8 months ago, I started a digital law firm. And the idea was that we were going to improve technology within law, because in law, technology, legal tech is pretty far behind other bits of technology like fintech and PropTech and the like. So we thought, you can build this great tech and it'll help consumers make the process simpler, and it'll help our conveyancers be more efficient and productive. And so we thought, but the first thing that we did was we interviewed as many people as we could find. So property buyers, property sellers, We interviewed property developers, and then we thought, hey, we should interview the other key stakeholders, like, so, real estate agents and your bankers or mortgage brokers. And what we quickly learned was that the parts of the process that were broken and that weren't working well for consumers wasn't necessarily on the property law or the conveyancing side. The conveyancing is how you settle a property in Australia. It's not really on the way that you settle a property from the lawyer. It was how the lawyers communicated to the other service providers, to the mortgage brokers and the real estate agents, or the lack of communication, which made the experience of the consumer much worse. If your real estate agent or your mortgage broker or your banker don't know what's happening in the transaction, it makes the experience worse for the consumer. So we learned that our client wasn't just the end consumer that was buying or selling a property. Our client was also the real estate agent and that mortgage broker. And in fact, we changed the whole way we thought about our business. And to this day, about 95, 96% of our business comes from mortgage brokers and real estate agents. They refer all our business into us because we've solved the problem for them. We've made the process simpler for them so they can provide a better level of service to their clients, which in turn creates a better experience for the client or all the way through the transaction. And I guess we've won from a sales, we want to call it sales, from a sales perspective, because we solved the problem. And it was a problem we didn't even know existed until we interviewed the real estate agents and mortgage brokers.
Very interesting. So that means that we really need to investigate in our own businesses, the different components, and see how well they're communicating and solve those problems first before we worry about the end result, which is we want, hopefully will be sales, new clients, sales, income.
Yeah. And I'll give you an example for this same example, because we're talking about this property law firm now. If you asked me before I ran through that process, if you asked me what we needed to do, I'd say, well, as a property law firm, we need to find a client, right? We need to find someone that's buying or selling, and then we need to meet with them, get them to buy our services, so some kind of sales appointment or whatever process we take, whether it's product led or face to face. And then we need to help them with their conveyancing process. And then at settlement of that property, when the keys are handed over, our job is done, everything's finished. But that's not quite the experience for the client, right? For the client, it's they've got to find a home. They don't really even want to deal with us. They've got to deal with us because you need a lawyer in the transaction to make it happen. But it's not like they want a lawyer, right? They just want to settle a property. They want to move into the home. And their process isn't finished when the keys get handed over. Their process, if you want to call it that, is finished when the boxes are unpacked, their family's in, turn their power's on, and they're now in that property. So looking at it from their standpoint compared to from us, which is sales, settlement, get our money, from a consumer perspective, which is, hey, I've got to deal with a lawyer, a real estate agent, a mortgage broker, a mover, a removalist, I've got to get the power on, I've got to get the keys, I've got to move my family. And thinking about that entire process, we'll be able to build a bespoke customer experience that makes that easier for them. It makes them feel like we actually care. We actually care about what they're going through. And by doing that, my background is in revenue, and even when I was a C-level executive of listed companies, it was always in revenue. But what I quickly learned was that your best way to make a bit more sales is to provide a really good experience to your customers. So sometimes it's counterintuitive for a sales leader, but certainly we've proven it in this business and in others have been in where, we're now getting, like I said, all our business, 95+% of our business from referral from real estate agents and mortgage brokers, because, like I said, we solved that problem for them.
Yes. So the experience is the key to getting sales, making sure people are comfortable with making sure you're addressing their needs. At the end of the day, we're all consumers. If we don't have a good experience, it's like, oh no, I'm not dealing with this company anymore because I was on hold. Yeah. And it's
your experience, your negative experience.
Yes.
Yeah, 80% of consumers research a company online before buying these days. So if you're providing a bad experience to your customers, they leave a bad review or they tell their friends and family how horrible that experience was, well, you're certainly not going to get repeat or referral business. which in a small business is the lifeblood of most small businesses, right? Like if you don't have to spend money on client acquisition, that's gold. So providing a good experience means you got a higher chance of repeat and referral business, get a higher chance of good customer reviews online, which mean that, I always say customer reviews are so important in small business because, let's just say you're up against two companies, clients looking at both of them. One of them's got good customer reviews online, one doesn't. You don't know any of them other than that. Which one are you going to go for, right? You're going to go for the one that's got some social proof. So, again, that good customer experience and then understanding how to turn, that raving fans is a term we use a lot, because what we want to do is we want to create a good customer experience, but then we want to have processes in place to then make them promoters and raving fans, right? So not only, hey, we've done well for you, but how can we then create them to be almost like our lead generation machine, our clients.
Yes, and it really makes sense.
Sense. Yes, it does. That makes sense.
Yes, it does. Now, from time to time, things do go wrong, but my thing is how they're going to handle it when it does go wrong. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think one thing that, again, big companies sort of do as part of their process, but smaller companies maybe don't think of as much, is having a formal dispute resolution process. So if something goes wrong, what happens, right? What happens at that time? For us, I guess there's a couple of different ways, but for the first thing that we do, every single client that transacts with us, we run a net promoter score on, so a survey. Anyone that's a detractor, which means it's a 1 to 10 rating, 1 to 6 is a detractor. It means something went wrong. They weren't happy with our level of service. They get a personalized phone call from our general manager. So we do well over 100 transactions a month, and our general manager calls every single person that does a 1 to 6. We haven't had one in over a couple of months now, but you do get them. Even us, who we think we're customer obsessed and we focus on that more than anything. But even we get those. And it's about, okay, first of all, getting on the phone immediately if someone's senior in the business, finding out what went wrong, apologizing, of course, and then trying to make amends. Because what I think people might find interesting is that often the best relationships, long-term relationships you build, are when you solved a problem, when something went wrong with the consumer. Because then it's kind of like, hey, all right, something did go wrong, but deep down, everyone knows that could happen with any company, right? It could happen, anyone. No one's perfect. But if you dealt with it really well, you're proactive, you're apologetic, and you solve that problem for them or try to, I think that builds that level of trust that probably wasn't even there if everything went smoothly, right? Yes. So just having that process in place and ensuring that you first of all, listen to the problem. Don't try and go into problem-solving mode immediately. Actively listen, understand what went wrong, solve the problem, but then go back and think to yourself, okay, well, what went wrong? Can we put some processes in place so that doesn't happen again?
Yes.
And that's what people look for, and why they become so angry and annoyed when they try to tell someone there's a problem here, something didn't go right, and that company tries to go into denial, or they just are not listening. If you don't listen to your customers, you're in bad shape. That's just absolutely round one. You're going to lose them. I saw something that was very interesting, and it kind of pulls into this, because if you have a company, let's say that's you go into, and they're basically doing everything wrong. Okay, you see that their customer approach is wrong. Their sales force is like, there's just nothing going on there that's right. How do you create resiliency and work with the mental health within a company structure?
Yeah, I think this is one of my really passionate about this subject, because I do a lot of keynotes and I talk about resilience. And when I talk about my story of what I went through in business and some of the things that happened, almost every single time I do, I get a bunch of people come and tell me the same stories, or very, very similar stories, right? Most people that have had some level of success in business have gone through a period of a really tough period, and building resilience doesn't mean being the stoic, tough person that doesn't have feelings. It's really about having things in place to be able to manage those times. And I think the most important part of resilience for me is understanding that things can and will go wrong. No one's perfect. You are going to make mistakes. There's going to be things that you didn't even make a mistake. Something went wrong. Someone did wrong by you or whatever it might be. And things are going to go horribly. They're going to go badly. And you need to have, processes in place, both emotionally and internally, but also in your business to be able to handle those times. And I think probably the best way to do that initially, at least one of the ways, is just to understand that it is going to come. So when it does come, you're not surprised and angered by it, and just making sure that you've got that in place. And I think as a leader of a business, you need to be the one that has that vulnerability first. So you need to be able to show your team that it's okay not to be okay at times, and being flexible with them to give them the space that they need to get better. I think, everyone's worried about productivity, or, if someone's not dealing well with their emotions, then they're not going to be able to work as hard, and that's bad for my productivity, which is a pretty outdated way of looking at things. I think if you give them the space and the support, what you're going to get is an employee that's way more engaged, someone that's going to work harder for you and be willing to, break barriers to do the right thing by you and your business if you give them that space and that support when they need it most. So you might lose productivity short term, but medium, long term, you're going to have a loyal employee who's going to stay for a long time and is going to work harder for you than anyone else.
And that's so true, Bill. That is so true. So if people want to work with you, how do they reach out to you?
Yeah, so best way to reach out to me is on social media. So Instagram at BillNico10, same tagline on LinkedIn. You can send me a message there, and I'll be more than happy to help. And I do, business coaching one-on-one globally. I also do group sessions, and I'd also do keynotes across Australia and globally as well.
I noticed that you are a keynote speaker. Could you tell us a little bit about what you talk about?
First of all, it's probably my passion. Like I love, if I could do keynotes all day, every day, that's what I would do. I really, really enjoy those. Running businesses is great as well, of course, but I really enjoy them. And there's four main topics I talk about. One is that the topic we talked about at the start, so growth in the customer journey. We go through that in detail. Resilience is another one which we touched on. The resilience in business. We also talk about this concept of servant leadership. I'm a big passionate believer in servant leadership. I think the days of this, when 30, 40, 50 years ago, when we had a production line, and if someone wasn't at work at 8:31 in the morning, the production line stopped. So it was really important for people to be really strict. Those days are gone. We're in a service-led knowledge economy, and I think we need to have a different way of managing team members now. So servant leadership is a big one. And the last one that I talk about is cultural change, and how to build a culture that's going to give you the best performing team in the 21st century.
Yes.
I have to jump in and ask you to talk just a little bit about the culture change.
Yes, that was going to be my question as well.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people complain about Gen Y and the millennials and about how they're different to probably how we came up through work when you sort of did what you were told, and you quiet about it for quite a long time, right? And yeah. I remember somebody saying to me, you have to do what you have to do before you can do what you want to do, right? Which still rings true. So early in your career. But I think, just by washing your hands of it and saying, oh, Gen Y and millennials, they're hard and difficult, that's just a cheap and easy way out, right? They're actually really engaged and very hard workers if you engage them in a way that they feel comfortable. So it's about creating an environment that gives them the opportunity to succeed. And that goes into that servant leadership bit as well. But I found that it's not only the Gen Ys and the millennials either. Even, we've changed since COVID, your working environments, how do you offer, what working environments do you offer? Is some businesses, you have to be at the office, or you have to be in, and that goes without saying. If you're in manufacturing or, any client-facing hospitality or retail, of course you have to be there. But if you're not, what can you do to create an environment that's going to increase productivity for your business. Bond Conveyancing, our law firm, is almost entirely remote. We've got an office and people can come in, but they're not obliged to come in at all. I think once a fortnight we get everyone in for a day, but other than that, no one's obliged to come in at all. We have people going and pick up the kids and taking them to school. They take half an hour off to take them, half an hour off to pick them up. No one's checking the clock. But what we've found is that we've got a net promoter score, about 150% above the industry average. So our clients rate us about 150% above the industry average, because we can employ the best people, because they want best people right now in that industry want flexible work environments.
Yeah.
They're typically parents, and they're going to work till 7, 8 at night. They're going to get back on the laptop when the kids are asleep, but they need half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the afternoon to go pick up the kids. Who cares, right? We're creating an environment that is going to make them successful in their family life, which makes us successful. So, that cultural change, I think now is just understanding that, the environment's changed, adapting to it, just like any business needs to adapt, and then finding what works in your industry, in your niche, in your business to get the best out of your team. And not only to make it more productive and better for the business, but to try and think about what will make their work life better. Because again, as we said earlier, if you can make their experience better at work, they're going to produce better outcomes.
So at the end of the day, it's all about the experience for everybody involved.
Yeah, I think that's the change that's happened in the last, 10, 20 years. I mean, it's not about, sales used to be really hardcore, close on the day, the ABC, always be closing. I mean, if you tried that now, you're just not going to succeed. People don't engage that way. The information's too, back then you could kind of do that because they used to lie and you wouldn't know any better as a consumer. Now the internet age, information's at your fingertips. You have to be genuine and you have to be consultative. And I think the experience for both employees, consumers, partners, everyone, whether you're managing up or down, you need to think about how whatever you're doing is going to impact those people.
Absolutely.
Very fine discussion. Excellent
Yes,
discussion.
yes. And it goes all back to the experience and working with people in a more human way, and not treating people like they are a machine or like a dictatorship, so to speak, situation.
Yeah, and I think, there's this, I think some people have a thought that you have to be really cutthroat to make money, and, you can't be a pushover. Definitely, you won't make money being a pushover, but you don't have to be cutthroat either. You can do the right thing and win. That is possible.
Yes.
I've been doing it all my career. There is a lot of people that don't. And sometimes doing the wrong thing can get you short-term results, right? It can. But over the long term, doing the right thing, providing really good experiences, providing good environments for your employees, I just feel like in the long term, you're always going to win that way.
Yes. And plus you sleep better at night when you feel like you've treated people respectively and you did what you could do to support someone to be able to move to their next level. Because at the end of the day, people in a company, they want to grow. They want to feel valued. They want to feel as though there are other opportunities for them within your organization.
Yeah, and I mean, unless you're a narcissist, then being happy and comfortable with what you're doing and sleeping well at night, it's going to increase your own productivity, right? You're going to be, if you're getting up to work every day and your employees like you because you're doing the right thing by them, and you're having some success, your clients are happy, it's going to invigorate you to work harder, and it does for me. If I was doing the wrong things and I had clients angry with me and because I'd done something wrong, it's not going to motivate me to do my best.
No, absolutely. Bill, tell us again how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so social media is the best way. So my Instagram at BillNico10 or my LinkedIn again at BillNico10. They're the two that I use the most. Happy to chat to anyone. You can send me a message through those platforms. Like I said, I do keynotes and one-on-one and group coaching globally. So, whether they're in the States or anywhere else in the world, happy to chat.
Yes. We are so glad that you joined us, and you confirmed a lot of things for me as a business owner. And, as a person, I can't treat people bad. I just feel some kind of way, period, whether I was in business or not, whether it's, somebody on the street. To me, it's always important to treat people good.
Yeah. I just want to make it clear that, treating people well doesn't mean you're a pushover.
Right.
Sometimes treating people well is giving them that feedback that they need to hear to improve, right? But you do it in a respectful way and in private. There's a process you take, but, doing the right thing doesn't mean you're a pushover or that you're soft. It just means that you do things respectfully and you try and do the right thing. And sometimes the right thing can be hard conversations. It can be, letting someone go because they're not the right fit, or it can be, performance managing someone because, they could do better, but they're not doing as well as they could do. All those things are doing the right thing. They're not easy and they're not maybe super nice, but they're the right thing.
Yes. And this conversation made me think. I was watching 911 the other day, and the boss was giving all of the firefighters their review. And this one particular firefighter, he made go do a training at a different site. And the guy couldn't understand what he was doing, but he did it anyway. And then at the end of the day, it was like his boss knew that he had leadership skills, but he was holding back. So he put him in a situation that he had to do some type of leadership. And it all worked out. He pushed him to be who he was afraid to be.
Yeah. I've got a similar story. I've done at my last role. I had a salesperson who wasn't performing. We gave him all the tools. We tried to help him. Wasn't performing, and we performance managed him. So we said, okay, now we're going to performance manage you, and if your results don't change in X amount of time, then we're going to have to let you go. We ran, but we did it really genuinely. It wasn't just a way to get rid of him. It was okay, we're going to try and help you, but this is sort of the last chance. And we gave him all the help we could. We had daily calls. We helped him with extra training. And that person, and honestly, I'll hand on heart, I didn't think he'd make it. I thought, we've given him everything. He's not going to make it, but we'll try. One last try. And he proved everyone wrong. He had a great month and he became one of our best salespeople, still at that company now, been long gone, since then. And he's still there now doing great. And sometimes, that tough love is the kind of love some people need.
Yes.
It's still love, right? It's still love. It's just sometimes it's a little bit of tough love, and he responded to that. Maybe he just needed that little bit of a push, to be his best self.
And we all do sometimes. We all do, especially when we're in new territories, or we have some inner fears that we haven't really worked on. And just having somebody to help us move through that period is sometimes all we need.
Yeah, a lot of people that see my career and they speak to me, and I'm energetic, and they think, I must be always motivated. And in fact, what I learned pretty early on in my career is that if I didn't have a manager, someone managing me, I needed a business partner, but I needed somebody to be accountable to, because if I'm on my own, I am going to get lazy, and I'm going to, not do things as efficient. Lazy is relative, but I'm not going to be anywhere near as efficient as I would be if I had, a manager, or even if I had my business partner, because I wouldn't want to let them down, So I've always needed somebody to keep me accountable. That's just, still to this day.
Wow. We are so happy that you joined us. We definitely have to have you come back again. I love your aura, beautiful smile.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And your people that you work with are really lucky to have you, because you are genuinely about the experience. Thank you, Bill, for sharing your expertise with our audience.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.